Okay, so before I start, I just want to put this in full disclosure. This is my experience, and nobody else can tell it better than I can. If you feel like commenting on my life, just don't do it. So, my name is Jessica, and I am 27 years old. Oh my gosh, I'm 27, y'all. Time flies. Time flies. I am a New Orleanian for life, forever. No matter where I go, I will always be from NOLA, baby. Before I knew anything about musical theater, before I knew anything about any of that, knowing what the actual term was, I just wanted to perform. I wanted to perform all the time. Like, me and my sisters, we would do like little shows in our living room. It would include hors d'oeuvres that were like ham and cheese from the refrigerator, and like, we would have like whoever wanted to come came. So my mom, my dad, sometimes my older sister, and like my grandma sometimes. Yeah, like they would all just be in the living room just waiting for us to perform. We would do like a little routine and then we would be done. We grew up with 2 pianos in the house, so I was always able to just play around with music when I was bored. So like I would like learn songs that I already knew about on like little, like Where is Thumpkin, or what's the other one? Da 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 da. How are you today, sir? Very well, thank you. Like I used to play like little songs like that and learn them and figure out like the science of a piano. Another story. I used to always love watching Annie, and I could not figure out why. I wanted to be an orphan when I was at 6, 7 years old, and I would tell everybody I want to be an orphan. Like I was so upset. I remember my one cousin, Hernetta, she said,
if you are an orphan, there will be no one to play with you.
And I was like, I don't care, so I want to be an orphan. Now when I'm older, I'm like, okay, I just wanted to be singing and dancing like the little girls on Annie, and that was that. Anyway, I love the Mickey Mouse Club. I used to watch Zoom. Those kids got to entertain, and like that's what I wanted to do. I mean, Sesame Street was kind of like that, but I don't know. I think because it was mostly like puppets on Sesame Street, it didn't really speak to me as much as it did when I watched kids and like one puppet on Barney, Okay, sorry, I forgot about BJ and Baby Bop and all of them, but like Sesame Street was so freaking creative in the way that they produced their art. So I would give it up to Sesame Street too in that regard. Also, when I was younger, and still to this day, I used to sing a lot of harmonies with my sisters, and we used to sing 4-part harmony, 3-part harmony, depending on whoever wanted to be in the little singing group at that point. And you can probably go on YouTube and find the Mixing Sisters YouTube page, which has not been updated in years, but you can still see some of our content on there. There was a point where we just kind of sang to sing, and then it got to the point where we were trying to do it more professionally. It was almost like the love of it was going away because there was so much more focus on it becoming a business and making money off of it that it just wasn't fun anymore. I also want to give it up to my older sister, Sabrina. She was basically the ringleader in why I am a creative and I am performing and I am so engulfed in music and anything art right now, because she would basically use art to keep me in line when I was a little tiny little girl. She got me hooked on to like Sade, and then like the Pure Mood CD back in the 90s, Coldplay. Like, people used to ask me back then, and even now, they're like, what's your favorite music genre? And I'm like, there are no limits, because I like what I hear. I can't say that I like music of one genre or like majority music. I like them all. Whatever speaks to me. My first theater experience was back when I was 13. I did The Dream on Royal Street with Crescent City Lets You Theater, and I played A Fly-By Night. This was basically the Midsummer Night's Dream, but based in New Orleans, and it's supposed to be done by kids, but I'm pretty sure adults have done it too. I mean, you could totally do it with adults, but it got a lot of press in the city because Alan Menken did the music for it, and our director at the time, she basically called him or like got in contact. Somehow Alan Menken showed up to our show. This is the guy that made Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, like my childhood, all the songs from my childhood. This guy was in the audience, like watching. And To be honest, I didn't even know his name. I didn't know who he was at that point. It wasn't until he did his compilation of music that he had wrote that I was like, oh, you're that guy. And like literally an hour before, we were taking selfies with them with our big old like digital cameras and stuff. That was my first show, and I realized from there like that's what I was missing my entire life. I want to give it up to Crescent City Lights Youth Theater because that was my training ground, and that was the training ground for so many creatives that I know today that are doing their thing in New York and elsewhere. And I mean, that's just a special community for kids of all different backgrounds to just get in there and do what they love. Black community does not have resources to getting to do stuff that I do right now. Like, my experience is probably very similar to a lot of kids that were 6 and 7 years old at that point and right now. They don't know what musical theater is, and I know because for me, I didn't know at that point. Like, I just so happened to get into it. I found it some sort of way, connections. To be honest, like, my life could have gone a completely different way. I could have stick with sports, and I mean, I wasn't really that good at it. So I would have had no idea what musical theater as an entity, as a world is. Like, I'm so happy to be a part of it, and I'm so happy to be a part of the Actors Equity Association. And then once I got to high school, I mean, that was actually around the same time I did Crescent City Lights, but I was also going to an all-girls Catholic high school called Dominican High School, and I had prepared my life for that. I was like, okay, this is my moment. That was that high school, and I thank everybody there that helped me get to that point and believed in me and understood that. They probably saw what I couldn't see, and I'm thankful that they did. Thank you, Dominican. Thank you.